So this is the other thing that we are looking at doing, and this is the solar eclipse QSO party. And so the idea behind this is that we would like to flood the airways with HF signals. And by generating a lot of QSOs, we should be able to image the ionospheric changes. And so this goes back to the idea I was showing you before that, during a contest, you get a lot of signals on the air, and then by doing that, you have a chance of seeing where maybe how far north the eclipse effects on the ionosphere go, how far south they go, how long they last from place to place. So if we just get a lot of signals on the air, then we can look at data from RBN, PSK reporter, etc., participant submitted logs, and we can get an idea of that. So the solar eclipse QSO party is going to be an 8-hour event from 1400 to 2200 UT on August 21st, and it's going to be contest-like. So one of the things we're trying to do here is just generate a lot of QSOs. We've given 2 points to CW or digital stations because those stations are the ones that are able to be observed by the RBN, PSK reporter, etc. Phone contacts are still, they're worth 1 point, and they're still valuable because you can submit your logs to us, and we can use the data from your logs to help study the ionosphere. And we have multipliers as well, so you multiply your score by the number of grid squares you work, and the idea is that we try and get you to talk to many different people. The exchange is your signal report plus your 6-character grid square, and I talked about all the data sources. And we have the rules posted on HamSCI.org. Yes?
The signal report should be realistic, not like a regular contest where everybody takes 5
Yes, it's true. We do encourage real signal reports. But I'll tell you, I'm not entirely worried about that. And the reason is because I'm going to be getting a lot of computer-measured signal reports from the data sources over here, from the WhisperNet, from RBN, from PSK reports. So they're going to be like doing these computer-measured signal reports. But yes, please try to give us real signal reports as opposed to just 599 for everything. And if you're using digital, you might actually put in the you put in the dB value that's measured. So when you go home tonight, you can go look at the rules on HamSCI.org/SEQP. I can tell you right now, I'm working on modifying the rules a little bit right now to include better guidance for people who want to operate things like JT65 and JT9, because that really isn't in the rules right now, but we're putting that in now so people can do that. There's also going to be better guidance on how to do the logging, how to handle those signal reports. So there's going to be a little modification of that. Yes?
I got word the other day that N1MM has created a special contest.
That's absolutely correct. We are working with N1MM, and N1MM does support the solar eclipse QSO party under contest log type Eclipse. I should also note that I found out just today that there's a little bug in that. So right now when you generate your Cabrillo file with the Eclipse module, you don't get your signal reports in the final log. Okay, but someone very kindly wrote to me today, and they looked at the sample logger post and they pointed that out. So the developer said he's going to go in and fix that. And so he said the next public release of N1MM Plus, which is probably either tomorrow or sometime this week, will have the bug, will have that fixed. So maybe wait till the end of the week to download that. And maybe do a few test QSOs. Make sure when you generate your Cabrillo file, the signal reports are in there. So that will be there. But we're very glad to have N1MM supporting us like that. And the person who's coding that for us is Nick, NA3M, I think. I may have to double check that. I gave him credit on the website, I believe. So we have some bonus points. So you get an extra 100 points if you operate during totality. Now here in New Jersey, you're not in totality, so how do you get your bonus points? We're going to define that as the point of time where it is closest to where you have maximum shadow. so the point in time where you have maximum shadow for your particular area, that will count as totality for you. We also have it so you can operate outdoors, so you can see the eclipse. You get 100 bonus points for that, so you can go field day style. Operate at a public venue, you get another 100 points. Provide us extra station information, you get 50 points for that, for each of those things you provide. Let's see, if you operate one of these RBN, PSK Reporter, or WhisperNet nodes during the contest, like over there, then you get extra points for that. And you also get points for being spotted by these different networks. So every time you call CQ, even if no one's coming back to you, you can get a point for being spotted. And those will be awarded after the fact. And here we go. N1MM Plus now has native support for the Solar Eclipse QSO party. It's under log type Eclipse. If you don't like N1MM Plus, you can use any software that supports the ARRL VHF contest exchange format. And you can follow the instructions at our website for how to upload the logs. We're still working on our log uploader. We do have, downloadable participation certificates available. Those have been designed, which is nice. And final scores and bonuses will be posted on HamSCI.org at a later date. So this is our website. So again, the HamSCI is a ham radio science citizen investigation. And our goals are to advance scientific research and understanding through amateur radio activities, encourage the development of the new technologies to support this research, and to provide educational opportunities for the amateur community and the general public. We are partnering with the ARRL. They're providing a lot of our PR right now. So they provided us this booth space at the Dayton Ham Convention this year. And so you can see, let's see.
See Josh and Josh.
Yeah, you can see Josh. Well, there's me. There's Josh number 2, and there's Josh number 1. There's Ward Silver, and there's many other team members from our group. So I was very happy that the ARRL was able to provide that to us. And they also gave us a forum space where we were able to do oral talks. So if you go to hamsci.org/Dayton 2017, you can watch videos of all of those talks. And all of you know what the ARRL is, and we are on the cover of QST this month, which is very nice. FF Club, you can see we've got a number of students that are quite active in the shack. There's Josh number 1 over there. He's working with Brendan over there. And these are both native Fairlawnians.
No.
Yeah. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, so Josh over there, he grew up here in Fairlawn. So, yeah, and Brendan's from Fairlawn as well. And we also do public service, so this is a photo of us at the New York City Marathon this past year, supporting that. So with that, thank you very much. We look to use ham radio to help us understand space weather, and we are looking to support the total solar eclipse with the Solar Eclipse QSO party, these frequency measurement tests, and many other different experiments. So thank you very much.
So much, thank you, amazing. Everyone, at this point in time, I forgot to welcome special guests and other guests to Fairlawn Amateur Radio Club. We always have a lot of events going on a monthly basis. We have our weekly social events, business meetings. We have a great, fabulous website, thanks to JC over there. Do go on it and see what's going on. At this point in time, I'd like to bring up Rob. I'm going to have him introduce himself and just take a few moments of your time before we take a break and come over here to the equipment. Rob, please, handing over the program to you.
Hi everybody, I'm Rob Roches, K2PBT, Section Manager for Northern New Jersey. And just one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to give your club for your lending library the latest from the ARRL in commemoration of this presentation, Propagation in Radio Science. So you guys can look into some more in-depth topics.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We worked very hard to get where we are today, and this is just a welcoming gift. Thank you so much.
one other thing I want to pitch. Scott Wiley, who's here, wants to do a youth opportunity with the Boy Scouts on solar eclipse time. If you want to just talk about that.
I'm Scott Wiley, WY190, and I think I was a member here like 15, 20 years ago.
Okay.
But I live over in West Milford now. I'm an active Cub Scout leader, do a lot with radio scouting, which I want to talk to Nathaniel something about afterwards. Been doing JODA and stuff. So this year what we're going to be doing is working with Troop 159. We're going to set up a solar eclipse viewing event and inviting the local Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, because there's a reward each organization can get, or a patch they can get for that. So we want to do something have safe with the kids. And then I came across, all this great stuff, like we should have a radio station there also, participating with the HamSCI project, and also exposing the kids to amateur radio in another way. I think it would just be a great event. Right now we're looking at Walsh Farm in West Milford. This started as a local event, and the troop is running it. I'm involved with the pack, but if you get some people to help, that would be great, because I know I'm going to be busy with the scouts and working on that part of the program. I haven't. This is kind of just started in like the last week or so. One of the troop leaders was like, "Hey, we should do this," and I'm like, "Yeah." And then now we have the radio component, so we're trying to get this together in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you very
And
much.
also the activities going to be more on this side of the state, so we're reaching out to you guys.
Thank you so much. At this point in time, I would like to have a question and answer for Nathaniel. Anybody any questions for him? Eventually?
Yes.
Ed?
Yeah, just a question thing when you're looking at the presentation. You mentioned the eclipse earlier in Britain and also in Irkutsk in Russia. Just, this may be a dumb question, but are there any effects in terms of just the fact that this eclipse is going to be near the bottom of the sunspot cycle in terms of what you would see in terms of activity being measured in earlier eclipses where the cycle might have been a great deal higher?
It probably will have some effect, because if you're at the lower part of the sunspot cycle, you are generally going to be favoring lower bands anyway. So maybe we might have maybe less of a dramatic effect,
Right.
because you're going from a place that's not as ionized to, as opposed to like
A question of scale, I suppose.
Right. Interestingly, so from some of those previous eclipses, Ruth Bamford from the Rutherford Appleton Laboratory wrote a very nice report about the radioactivities during the 1999 UK solar eclipse. And she's posted that online. If you go to my Eclipse page on HamSCI.org/eclipse, there's a link to her report. So you can go ahead and you can read that whole report. And it should be fairly readable to pretty much anyone here. Yes?
Regarding the 1999 eclipse and the 2017 eclipse, we've come so far regarding communications. Digital is now on TV. Back then we were analog, and now with smartphones outdoing the old analog cell phones. What do you think is going to happen to communications affected in those areas that day regarding consumer communications, even as far as GPS systems go in those regions?
I think for most consumer devices, you're not going to see a huge effect, because most of those devices don't travel through the ionosphere, and we are used to going from daylight to darkness on a daily basis, so we know that all those pieces of equipment operate at night. We know that all of them operate during the day. One place where you might see more of an effect would be in the GPS system, because the GPS system does go through the ionosphere. And so if you have scintillations or waves that are generated by the eclipse, that could affect the GPS systems. Now, I doubt that you're going to see a huge effect on, say, the GPS systems that you're using to travel around on the highway and find where you're going from home to wherever else you're driving to, because those GPSs don't require a huge amount of precision. But if you're trying to land airplanes and you're trying to make fine measurements of the Earth, you might be more concerned about these sorts of things.
And there are some systems that rely on the timing signals of GPS for critical applications.
That's right.
May have impact.
Yes.
You know, I'm curious, well, two-part question. I'll ask the one that I don't know, and the other one I'll hold because I could look it up
Okay.
on your site. The question is, how does, we're used to day, night. How does the eclipse is 3 hours maybe? How does that timing of it, I mean, does it take more time for the changes to occur, less time? It's a poorly worded question, but I think you get the idea.
Okay, I'll try my best.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the eclipse is a slow transition with a very steep, fast transition
Right.
to a very slow transition again. And so that steep, fast transition for totality, when you're in totality, the maximum totality you have takes about 2.5 minutes. So where it could take, I think, if I just go back to the map before, let's go the other way.
You know, I'm thinking compared to the changes that occur during a normal day to night cycle.
Right. So just
here
wanted
it's
to
compressed.
bring this map up. So you can see that while totality only lasts maybe 2.5 minutes, the partial eclipse is going to take about 2.5 hours to complete at that particular location. So you can see how dramatic of a change it is. And that will have an effect on how the ionosphere changes, because rather than things having time to recombine on the time scales they normally do, it's going to get a sudden shut off of light. And so you might have the temperature changes will be different because things may not have time to cool off as well. So these are some of the things that we'll be interested in studying.
How is it going to affect the World Wide Web? Because a lot of that bounces off satellites and also satellite radio.
Again, I don't think it will have a tremendous effect on it. I think most of those signals will be fairly robust.
Because of the high frequency
Yeah,
they are.
and even if you do have some paths that are affected, it's probably going to be a very brief effect, because you're not going to have, wherever you have a gradual change, so during that period where it's a very slow change, you're not going to see I don't think you're going to see major disturbances that might affect the satellite paths. I think it's only where you have a sudden change, which only lasts like a couple minutes, that you might start to see more of an effect.
The other question, if I may, and I apologize, I can probably find the answer on your website, is you're encouraging public, being out in the public and community involvement. Are there material handouts or whatever available for people who come by?
That's a good question. I don't have too many right now. I think I have some links. I don't have too many from the radio perspective. I think from the radio perspective, if you look at that Ruth Bamford report, there's some nice figures there that you can use and you can share with people. On our website, there is a page that explains what we're doing and why we're doing it, and you can use that to generate some public material as well.
Thanks.
And that's pretty much what you quoted as far as studies that are going to be available off your website somehow?
That's right. Yes?
Can I take you to Antarctica? Is there an unusual electron density in Antarctica?
Yes, the ionosphere is very different.
Much heavier than throughout the rest of the world. Because we still have the ozone problem over there.
Right, so go to this computer again. Whenever you go to the polar region, so there's a few things that control the electron densities. One, of course, is the solar ultraviolet rays. Another thing is actually the shape of the Earth's magnetic field, because electrons can travel along magnetic field lines, but not across them. Okay, and if those magnetic field lines end up going out into space, particles from space can travel along those field lines and end up in the Earth's atmosphere. So we're used to what we call like the mid-latitude ionosphere, which I would say is predominantly governed by this, by just the ultraviolet inputs. That's the main thing. As you go higher in latitude, when you hit the aurora, you're going to have higher electron densities here because you have that magnetic field allowing streaming particles from space into the aurora. So you've got very high electron densities there. And once you get poleward of the aurora, you end up in this region called the polar cap, where you actually have very little or very low energy, very little particle input from space. So you actually have a little bit more of a depletion in this region than you do compared to here.
Is that because of the magnetosphere? With all the lines coming together at that point?
That's right. Well, so the magnetic field lines will dump all of their particles into the auroral zone, and then they continue to travel from the day side over to the night side across the pole. And once they've dumped everything into the auroral zone, they are pretty much empty of their particles. And so that's why there's not much of the polar cap. So I guess this is the day side over here. So magnetic field line would come from here, dump its energy into the aurora here, then travel fairly empty across the polar cap until it gets over here, and then they'll return, the magnetic field lines will return along the flanks. And you'll get, most of your bright aurora actually comes from the night side, from particles that are being energized in the Earth's magnetotail. Yes?
From a data impact perspective, which bands are more desirable for operating? So should we be looking at operating on higher bands, lower bands?
I think the lower bands are probably going to be the most effective. If you read that Bamford report I was talking about, you'll see that it's mostly the lower bands that are most effective.
Is the D-layer absorption going to drastically drop?
I'm not sure how drastically. Hopefully it does. Yeah. So one of the things we're working on right now is the Naval Research Laboratory. They have an ionospheric model called SAMI-3, and they have actually modeled from first physics principles what the ionosphere on August 21st will look like without the eclipse, like what it would look like normally. They've also put in the eclipse too, and they've modeled that, and they're in the process of sending us those two models. And then Josh has written some code that will let us run a ray tracer, those ray traces, through that ionosphere. And so we're working on predicting what the solar eclipse QSO party will look like, with the ionosphere, with the eclipse in there, and also what it looks like without the eclipse, and to try and compare them. And we're hoping to have like some predictions out before the solar eclipse QSO party happens to say that we think this band will open up first. So we're working on it.
Are you going to publish that?
We're going to try. So we will try to get that. We'll try and get some predictions up on the web as soon as we get that all put together. So we're working on it.
This is the most ridiculous question, but somebody had actually asked me this. Do the signals from the transmitters here have any impact on the conditions, or is it just so much overpowered by what's happening from the sun?
I believe the answer to that is, for the ionosphere itself, this nearby ionosphere, we have very little to no impact on the local system.
I swear that was a real question.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question.
It was.
It's a common one.
Yeah. Yes.
Center of that green zone
Yeah.
is off-center from the boundary of the polar pole.
Yes.
Is that the effect of the magnetic offset of the poles?
Day-night effect.
Or the day.
It has to do with the night time.
And if
Yeah.
so, that would indicate that the magnetic pole has a serious effect on
It absolutely does. So yes, the location of this is organized by the Earth's magnetic field, and it will be, and because the southern magnetic pole is not right at the is not right at the geographic South Pole, if that will be off-center from the continent.
What's that, about 15 degrees off center?
I'm not sure for the South
Because
Pole.
I know it's changing over a period of
It
time.
does change over a period of time. Another interesting thing is that for every point down here, or not every point, but for every point on a closed magnetic field line, you have a conjugate point in the northern hemisphere. So you can do studies where you can match up structures in the aurora that are down here with structures for the aurora up in the northern hemisphere.
Just one more question.
Is work being done similar to other stations down in Antarctica, like Anderson, Scott, or some of the foreign stations?
Yes, there is space physics research at pretty much every country that's down there. I'd say most countries are doing this. I know from working with SuperDarn that the British Antarctic Survey does a lot of space physics down there, and they run SuperDarn radars down there. China does as well. I believe France and Italy have SuperDarn radars down there. A lot of people maintain magnetometers down there. The Germans are actually setting up a WhisperNet transceiver down in Antarctica at their base. So that's coming online, and that's of interest to the ham radio community. So yeah, there's a lot of this activity down there.
There's a lot of things coming on that people are using SDRs in other ways than they were intended for weather spotting and things like that. They're putting them up for all sorts of different things other than listening to radio and music.
Yeah. Tremendously powerful.
Thank you so much, Ben. On behalf of all the members of the Fairlawn Amateur Radio Club, we would like to present this to you.
Thank you.
If you want to get up and experience some radio equipment and have all kinds of questions, additional questions, we still have coffee.